Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So to my surprise last night, apparently Brian Grant and Legacy had access to Incursions and they did a live stream with a bunch of Kabam employees on the stream, also discussing the Incursions game mode, so on and so forth, and reconfirming that they are going to release Incursions on April the 8th. So basically in 1 week this is going to be live and available for everybody to play. So Incursions is a new version of Dungeons. Several things have remained relatively similar, but a lot of things have changed. So what has remained the same, you still have your kind of like tiers or levels. Previously they were called in different way, but now instead of rooms you have zones, and instead of difficulty, whatever, you have sectors, and that is the same, also the same kind of like user interface in the beginning, where you select a team of 3 champions, you match up with a friend or whoever and go in and do your thing. Now the thing that has changed, there is no class based system whatsoever, because previously quite evidently all of the dungeons were based on 2 different classes, and effectively you kind of ended up fighting only the same class opponents throughout your dungeon run, unless you kind of switch sides with your partner. In Incursions you can face any single opponent in the game, as far as I believe, so there will be much more varied encounters and more varied node combinations as well. So moving on to the next screenshot, so you have these choice nodes, and when you reach each specific set of these nodes, basically it's going to give you options what you want to do. Typically you will be able to select some buffs. At the beginning of each map you will be able to either make your next fight easier or swap out a champion, and you can use any champion in your roster. That's going to be a really cool feature there, because you will effectively be able to modify your team as per your needs. So you can pick a sabotage server link, which basically is going to remove 1 link node from your next encounter, or instead of doing that, you can swap out a character. Now if your character is KO'd, you can still swap him out, but the new character still will come in KO'd as well, but you can heal him for free later on, which is where we're going to get to a bit later. But the base idea is that this adds a lot of flexibility and will also seemingly let you manage some curveball encounters, because sometimes when Wild Annihilus or Ebony Maw or some other champions that need some specific counters, let's say Iceman appears and you don't have anybody on your team that's immune to Cold Snap, you will have the ability to swap out a character from your current team and bring in somebody that is Cold Snap immune. So here is how it works. Basically, if you disable the links, then opponents would not have the Optimist on, or you can swap out the champion over there. And when you reach, here we can see the next sections over there on your choice buffs, you can basically select a buff that's going to be active for several rooms, kind of like that's yeah, that's it, several more rooms. It lists on the right side how many zones the buff will be active for. Some of them were for 3 rooms, basically zones, and some of them are for 4 zones. So that's every fight for next 3 zones, all of the champions you're running will have this buff available. For instance, Fury buffs gain 40% potency, Fury buffs gain 30% ability accuracy and 40% duration, so that smells like Hyperion there. Or you gain a bunch of critical rating, and there are many different buffs and many different buff combinations that can be available for you. During special attacks, critical ratings multiplied by 3, so your specials are very likely to crit. You can gain massive energy resistance. You can gain random chances to incinerate or place shocks on opponents and so forth. So there's a lot of kind of like customization available for you, and they carry on room by room. So once you kind of start going into the Incursions, you will end up with a whole bunch of those buffs active at any given time for multiple rooms to follow. And once you defeat the boss of the room, you have another choice available for you, which will either let you pick up boss module, which would be like a really strong and potent buff, tend to the wounds, that would be revive all your KO'd team members that are at 20% of their base health. So it's basically a 20% team revive. So if you have all of your members KO'd or 3 of your team members KO'd, you can bring them all back. or just use a single one. Or the last one is Team Heal. Again, it heals up all your champions for 40% of their base health, which again is a nice and useful tool for you to kind of be able to carry on further and heal your champions for free. Or you can just pick up like a massive buff that will benefit you in the next room. So I did find that mechanic extremely interesting. And those massive buffs that you pick up at the end of the room will last for 4 zones instead of 3 zones, and they are certainly much more potent. For instance, whenever a Fury buff is gained, 100% chance to gain 35% bar power, cooldown 3 seconds. So you're going to be able to access a lot more power with any Fury champion. And if you remember, there are also buffs that give you a random chance to gain Fury buffs for champions that normally wouldn't. Whenever a non-damaging debuff expires on the opponent, 50% chance to gain a Fury buff lasting 10 seconds and granting 35% attack rating. So you can see that every time you parry the opponent and the parry expires, you're going to have a 50% chance to gain a Fury and have a solid damage increase. So that is a very potent buff indeed. And basically, you will work towards A, milestones, and B, these top zone bonuses. And the way it's going to work is that you have access to all of these bonuses, and they are automatically claimed and moved to your stash. And basically, each room has higher and higher top zone bonus up until I think they cap at some point. But the further room you make, the more of these you can get. And it's kind of going to work as a peak milestone system in AQ, where you can run the dungeon as many times as you want, but let's say if in your first run you only get to room 5, then you go in for your second run. For first 5 rooms you will get no bonus, you will get nothing. But then if you are able to push further into room 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10, you will get the top zone bonuses for those. So the further you can push in a dungeon, the more rewards you can get for it. There are also milestone rewards available, but aside from artifacts and some gold, I don't know, that didn't seem too appealing. Also, these top zone bonuses did in total award you with quite a good chunk of 5-star shards, but they only reset every 30 days. When it comes to rewards, for now I'm not gonna talk about them too much, because from the initial glance they did seem underwhelming, but perhaps once you do the math and it all comes together, they might actually be worthwhile. Hopefully they are actually better than they initially seemed, I guess. But again, I'm not going to comment on it or what I think about them too much. It's because I'm going to let Kabam actual post in regarding Incursions drop, and then we can discuss whether Incursions, aside from being fun and cool game mode, which it definitely seemed like it's quite fresh, quite interesting, I was certainly willing and very anxious, I guess, to get in there. I want to play that game mode, and it does look great. When it comes to the point where it's going to be worthwhile, I'm not so sure yet, because the dungeons previously faced exactly the same problem. The game mode itself wasn't too bad. Some of the finds there were really cool, some of the interactions were really cool, but it was never worth the time and effort. Hopefully with Incursions that's not going to be the case. But I'm gonna leave that kind of like judgment call for a bit later. And yeah, also each room you have a maximum of 5 items now available. They do reset in each zone. So every zone you complete, this 5 item limit is changing. Also they said that they will be changing the price points and the values of all of the existing dungeons items as they are moving to Incursions. They will be cheaper and they will heal you for more for less units, so they will be more realistic to actually be worthwhile to purchase, I guess. But we'll see again once we get the specifics, but that is something positive I did want to touch as well. And here is another screenshot example. Going through the zones, you will be picking up multiple of these buffs, and you're going to have these buffs active at all times. And that will also give opportunity to quite a few different champions to shine, in my opinion, because a lot of these buffs definitely seem to kind of like make Hyperion quite insane, or perhaps Aegon with all of the extended furies and increased fury potencies, so on and so forth. So there could potentially come out of this some really crazy interactions with champions and some heavy cheese tactics, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And I think that's pretty much where we're at the moment. A couple of nodes that opponents will have, like personal space, again, which is a cheesable node. So I think they mentioned that a vast majority of the nodes that exist in the game will be included in here, so that can potentially lead to some really devastating encounters, some very big and scary havocs, ebony maws, annihilus. So there's definitely going to be plenty of challenge in this game as well for those who are looking for a challenge. Yes, that is more or less, I think, it with like my preview of these things. Obviously, I haven't played them yet. I cannot speak from personal experience. I can only speak about the things that I saw on stream on Brian Grant's and Legacy's channel. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you are aware of those two channels, so I will not leave the links in the description. But yeah, in case you haven't checked it out yet, and on that live stream that I did, definitely head to Brian Grant's and Legacy's channels and check out how they did, how far did they make, how many shards they earned, all that stuff. Plus there are some nice and interesting little niblets of information from Kabam employees as well, including Kabam Mike, as well as the reasoning for why they forwarded this whole incursion thing for a couple of weeks early, which is, in my opinion, exactly the right thing to do, because this is a social game mode where you can interact with a friend of yours and play together for hours and have a bit of fun and keep on pushing, and it's effectively an indefinitely long game mode, or you can go and replay it as many times. So it's just something that's going to give players a lot more to do, which is kind of exactly what we need. If you think about it right now, we need things that entertain us plus help us remain social. We can get on Discord or Skype call with a mate of ours and just go in and smash out a whole bunch of incursions for a couple of hours and occupy ourselves like that. So I think that's a very definitely positive move by Kabam to bring forward the launch date of incursions, and I hope that they will kind of carry on with that trend, perhaps try and push a bit more content towards us, maybe slow down on some silly $300 6-star offers, but instead offer us some really affordable and cheap potions, revives, energy refills, and to encourage people to jump in here, to jump in Act 6, to catch up on their gameplay, or maybe release an extra arena so people can go and grind some more units out for milestones, so on and so forth. There's so many things that they could do, and hopefully they do at least some of them to make us feel that this game is moving with the times and reading the situation across the world well, unlike $300 6-star crystal offers. But yeah, all that being said, I just wanted to give you guys kind of like a relatively shorter version of a breakdown of how incursions are going to look like. So what can you expect? What will you be doing? Again, so it's relatively similar to dungeons in the format that you keep to two sides, you unlink your opponents, but in between all of that you can pick your own buffs, you can have choices to swap out your teammates, you can heal or revive your champions at the end of the fight, and yeah, it does seem a lot more complex, a lot more interesting with the same kind of like base structure, but just way more options. So, all that being said, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, do hit that like button, do hit that sub button, hit all of the buttons, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya!